What happens when someone rises to fast, shines to bright, and flips to hard literally? That's the story unraveling around Benson Boone, a name you might have seen lighting up TikTok charts or floating in a cloud of controversy online. Lately, the internet has turned on him with a vengeance seeking him inauthentic, manufactured, even unbearable, but here's the thing.
So the reason I am giving feedback right now is valid. He does not feel authentic or genuine. That's what I'm saying here. He was wondering why people feel this way, and I've stated this is why many people feel this way. It does not feel authentic or genuine.
With this whole Benson Boone hate train, I actually used to be Benson Boone neutral. Like, I didn't really listen to his music at all. I thought it was kind of like old Navy music, like maybe something that would have been played in Francesca's when I worked there in high school. It was like ambient music. But then he posted that stupid story where he was like, people can't hate me without a reason. How am I supposed to grow? Grow from what, bestie? Public indifference? Like, people hate recreationally on social media. That's just reality. You could be the best person in the world and people will find reasons to hate you. So nobody owes you an explanation if it's just a vibe that they're getting. And it's probably in your best interest to ignore those people. Only pay attention to the constructive criticism, because there are people that are saying constructive criticism. But what got me from neutral to dislike was the lack of realism in his brain that he thought that this was like an...
No one seems to agree on exactly why. Some say it's his lyrics too whimsical to nonsensical. Others say it's the flips and jumpsuits, the exaggerated performances that scream try hard. And then there are those who can't even articulate it. They just don't like him. No explanation. No nuance. Just an instinctual rejection. In the age of virality, that kind of vague hate can spread like wildfire. One sarcastic tweet, one viral TikTok soundbite, and suddenly an artist's entire reputation is up for debate. But is any of this hate actually justified, or are we watching? Yet another case of the internet eating one of its own. So what's really going on with Benson Boone? And why has he become one of the most talked about and oddly polarizing figures in pop right now? Benson Boone wasn't always a lightning rod for internet hate. In fact, his entry into the music scene started with a bold decision that actually earned him a lot of respect. In 2021, he auditioned for American Idol, a platform that has catapulted countless artists into stardom, but Boone walked away from it. On his own terms, he dropped out early, saying he didn't want to be boxed in by the idol machine. He didn't want to be that guy from a singing show. He wanted creative control, freedom, and a path that felt more real, and somehow that gamble paid off at first. Not long after leaving Idol, he signed with a label owned by Dan Reynolds, the frontman of Imagine Dragons. That connection led to his debut single Ghost Town, which made waves with its raw vocals and haunting melody. But the real turning point came in 2023. That's when he dropped Beautiful Things. The song exploded on TikTok. Seriously, it was everywhere. Clips of people lip-syncing, crying, or recreating dramatic moments to his lyrics flooded For You pages. The song shot up the Billboard charts. In the blink of an eye, Benson Boone went from breakout act to pop phenomenon. But sometimes, the faster the rise, the quicker the backlash. Benson wasn't just getting attention for his music. His live performances became a spectacle. He'd leap into backflips, wear one-piece suits, and throw his entire body into the performance. It was theatrical, eccentric, and to some just plain extra. That's where the cracks began to show. What was once seen as bold and refreshing started being called try-hard. Some fans compared him to Harry Styles, but not in a flattering way. More like he was imitating a vibe rather than creating one of his own. And offstage? That was another story. Boone is soft-spoken, more low-key, and reserved. This stark contrast between his real-life persona and his on-stage alter ego created a weird dissonance. Viewers started questioning which version was real and which one was manufactured. Some critics didn't hold back. They said it all felt like an act, like someone trying to force a brand before finding a voice. And the phrase industry plant started creeping into comments more and more. If you've spent any time in online music spaces, you know that calling someone an industry plant is like the ultimate insult. It suggests they didn't earn their fame, that they were manufactured, packaged, and marketed into stardom by the powers that be. That's exactly what some people started saying about Benson Boone. Why? For starters, the timing. He left Idol, signed with a major artist's label, and almost immediately had a viral hit. That kind of trajectory rarely happens without serious backing. Add in the polished music videos, media training, and PR ready. Persona, and it's not hard to see why some folks raise their eyebrows, but there's a deeper reason this label stuck. It's because people couldn't figure him out. He didn't have a clear origin story, a struggle narrative, or even a defined genre, so the assumption was he must be fake. A puppet on the strings of the music industry. Ironically, it was his desire to be seen as real that got him labeled as inauthentic. As the criticism piled on, so did the weird speculation. One of the most bizarre angles people took, his religious background. Benson Boone has a Mormon upbringing, though he's made it clear he no longer identifies with the faith. Still, some fans insist that his lyrics, behavior, or even his energy feels Mormon-coded. There's an ongoing joke about how his backflips and squeaky clean vibe feel like something out of a church talent show. Others point to his lyrics as being too safe or sanitized. One line from his song Mystical Magical became the center of this joke. Moonbeam ice cream. It became a meme overnight. People used it as evidence that his lyrics made no sense or were simply too corny. But again, the criticism wasn't really about the lyrics. It was about him. Benson was becoming a target, and people were reaching for anything they could use to justify their dislike, even if it didn't make much sense. Here's where things got interesting. Most artists would go radio silent or drop a vague notes app apology when facing this kind of hate. Not Benson. He did the exact opposite. He leaned into it, not with anger, not with defensiveness, but with humor. His video for Mr. Electric Blue wasn't just a music video, it was a statement, a satire, a complete flip pun intended on everything being said about him. The concept? He walks into a place called Industry Plant Records with a deadpan expression, already wearing a shirt that labels him a one-hit wonder. The self-awareness off the charts, and he doesn't stop there. The entire video is packed with gags that poke fun at the criticism he's received. He wears shirts labeled auto-tune, addict, and inauthentic. He tries to pitch Moonbeam ice cream, yes, the infamous lyric, to a boardroom of executives who scoff at the idea. He hands it to a kid who then roasts him to his face. He literally jumps into a pool underneath a no backflips sign. The symbolism is obvious. He's being told to stop being himself, but he's doing it anyway. This kind of self-deprecation is rare in pop, especially from a male artist.
You know how I know that this is not authentic to Benson Boone? And like this vibe, and certainly this. I've never met a man committed to like creative expression and art with just like no trace of like style or home decor or just like anything interesting around. Like not even some like cool, weird like shit from his grandparents, you know? Everything is new and curated generically in a very Airbnb core kind of way. It would work for anything and everyone. Like, you can't be 10 toes down that people are being, like, haters for no reason for hating the way you express yourself and then have no trace of self-expression or, like, appreciation of art or even, like, color. A stylist picked out this outfit. I just don't believe it.
Most try to pretend the hate doesn't exist. Benson's approach? He makes it the centerpiece of his art. It's bold, funny, and surprisingly relatable. The internet noticed. Comments under the video were filled with people saying things like, "I still don't love his music, but this made me like him," and that distinction is important. People started seeing the person behind the persona, not just the performer, but the 22-year-old kid trying to navigate fame while staying sane. In today's cancel at the slightest misstep culture, laughing at yourself might just be the most powerful form of defense. Even as fans warmed up to his self-awareness, critics didn't pull punches. Variety slammed his new album, American Heart, saying it sounded like it was written in 17 days, and unfortunately, it sounds like it. They called it scattered, undercooked, and lacking depth. Rolling Stone gave it a brutal to fifth rating, saying he can't land the backflip. The metaphor was clear. His theatrical persona couldn't make up for what critics saw as empty music. Even fans who defended his personality admitted the album felt rushed. Some said it lacked soul, others called it forgettable. Despite a few standouts, like Mystical Magical, the project failed to win over many new listeners. But interestingly, most critics acknowledged that Benson can sing. He has talent. What he lacks, they said, is time, experience, and maybe a collaborator who can help him mature as a songwriter. Now here's where things get uncertain. Benson Boone is only 22 years old. He's barely been in the industry for a few years, and already he's facing the kind of criticism that seasoned artists get after a decade in the spotlight. But some say that's exactly the problem. He got too big too fast, and now he's paying the price. The internet loves to build people up just to tear them down.
Can we talk about Benson Boone for a second? As someone who doesn't even listen to his music, never heard anything other than the Moonbeam Ice Cream song, the hate and the discourse I've seen online is absolutely insane. And for what? I saw a girl on TikTok make a video that said, Benson Boone doing a backflip is so Mormon coded. What? Were you dropped on your head as a child? What is wrong with you? First of all, what does that even mean? Second of all, when did this whole discourse about being Mormon, like, how is that okay? How is that normalized? It's a religion. Let the weirdos do what they want to do. If they want to be weird, if they want to be religious, who the fuck cares? Again, I do not know this man. I have never been a fan of the music, have never followed it, but it is so weird the hate that he gets for absolutely no reason. He just debuted. He was on American Idol for like 2 seconds. Give the little man a break. Half you bitches hating on TikTok do not have an ounce of confidence that he has, or a sense of self, or the talent. So unless y'all are better than him, you better sit down.
I'm sick of opening this app and seeing so much hate around artists and people, and just, you guys are so mean for anyone that does anything. And case in point, Benson Boone, like, the hate is so unnecessary, and you guys are being so harsh. And yes, everyone's got their own opinions, and you're allowed to not like someone's music or whatnot, but your reasonings for not liking him is just...
Still, there's hope. Some fans think what Benson needs isn't a new single. It's a podcast appearance, seriously. People want to see him, hear him talk, watch him crack jokes, or be vulnerable. Not in a polished PR interview, but in a raw, unfiltered way. Like Benny Blanco did when people hated on him for dating Selena Gomez, then did podcast rounds and suddenly became likable again. Maybe that's what Benson needs. To show the world he's more than a meme, more than a punchline. In the end, the Benson Boone discourse says more about us than it does about him. We say we want male pop stars to be different, to cry on stage, to experiment with their image, to break the mold. But when someone actually does that, we cringe. We drag, we turn vulnerability into a punchline. We say we want authenticity, but only when it fits our idea of what real should look like. When someone is too eccentric, we call it fake. When someone plays it safe, we call it boring. When someone tries to walk the tightrope of creative expression in real time, we mock the wobble instead of appreciating the balance. So maybe Benson Boone isn't fake. Maybe he's just early. Early in his career, early in his identity, early in figuring out who he wants to be. He's experimenting, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's what real growth looks like. It's messy, it's public, and in Benson's case, it's loud. He is only 22, that's younger than some college graduates. And yet he's already being asked to prove himself at a level most artists take a decade to reach. That pressure, it's intense. And yet he hasn't folded, he hasn't lashed out. He hasn't disappeared. He's still here writing songs, making videos, and turning criticism into comedy. Whether you think his music is a vibe or a miss, Benson Boone is clearly trying. And sometimes trying with honesty, creativity, and a willingness. To be the punchline is the most authentic thing an artist can do. This wave of hate against Benson Boone isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of a much broader pattern we've seen in pop culture for years. When a young artist, especially a male artist who defies traditional cool guy norms, gains rapid success, the internet often turns on them. We've seen it with Shawn Mendes, who was mocked relentlessly for being too soft. We've seen it with artists like Troye Sivan, and even Justin Bieber in his early years, where the second they embraced vulnerability, fashion, or flamboyance, they were met with ridicule. There's an unwritten rule that male artists have to either be edgy and tortured or completely non-threatening and plain. Anyone who tries to walk the line in between gets attacked for being confusing, inconsistent, or fake. And when artists rise through social media instead of grassroots grind, the industry plant label comes fast. Audiences crave origin stories that feel earned, forgetting that virality is today's talent scout. So the real question becomes, is the hate toward Benson Boone about him? Or is it about us, our expectations, our insecurities, our discomfort with artists who don't fit into neat little boxes? Benson just happens to be the latest face on this cultural battleground. Whether he survives the storm or thrives because of it will depend on how much he leans into his authenticity and how much we, as an audience, are willing to let him evolve.